This is Mid-Maryland Votes, Episode 31, Part 2. We're back with Tom Neumark, Director of Maryland's #1 charter school, to tackle the crisis you can't ignore. Violence is sweeping through Frederick County classrooms, fueled by the teachers' union's push for restorative practices over real discipline. And at Brunswick High School, a sexual assault in the locker room exposed a breakdown in administrative oversight. If you want to understand how discipline collapsed and our kids went from learning to running wild, you need to hear this. Now let's get into it.
It's absolutely insane. And I mean, the Frederick County Public Schools is going through a battery of bad publicity right now. One of the incidents that we want to talk about tonight was down in Brunswick, where a lack of supervision, a lack of mentoring, a lack of, oversight, and maybe, easy policies on discipline has led to a huge lawsuit. Several children being arrested for sexual battery in the locker room. It involved the lacrosse team down there at Brunswick. What's your thoughts, Tom, on this, and as far as how it reflects on the administrative issues that we're having in Frederick County Public Schools?
Oh, it's awful. Let me just read the charges to you. So you got a 17-year-old male was charged with 4th-degree sex offense, 2nd-degree assault, and 2 counts of visual surveillance of a private area. And there's a 16-year-old, a couple of them that got 2nd-degree assault charges, and then another 15-year-old that got 2 counts. And this was, I won't even describe what happened, but it was assault with a sexual paraphernalia, let's say, that
an adult sex toy.
Yep, exactly. And they held him down and attacked him with it and basically violated him with it. It was awful, and that should not be happening. Number one, where are they getting this stuff? They shouldn't be getting this stuff. But then where's the supervision in the locker rooms? We always had supervised locker rooms when I was growing up, going to school. And I agree with you that there's something wrong with part of it's the discipline policy. Part of it, I think, is again the kids know best attitude. They're their own autonomous agents, even though they're minors. That's a really dangerous idea because they do not have the self-discipline or the maturity to make good decisions, as this incident obviously illustrates. But the teachers, will during sex ed, will basically teach things like, well, only you can know when you're ready to, engage in sexual intercourse and things like that. There's this anything goes, the kid knows best kind of attitude, kind of pervading the whole system. And so it's not a surprise to me that something like this has happened, because obviously these kids are autonomously acting to do something awful, and we've taught them their whole life it's what you feel right now seems to be what is okay.
And what's so shocking to me isn't just the fact that these children, and they are minors, or that these minors did this act. But what it is that what the accusations go further than that. What they state is that teachers and administrators were actually aware that this adult sex toy was being paraded around the school openly, and they, over a period of time, did not do anything to stop it. And to make matters even worse is that the sheriff of Washington County, Sheriff Jenkins, in an interview, Frederick County, in an interview was talking about how the investigation uncovered a second, I guess, somewhat similar incident that had been swept under the rug, essentially lied about, is what I guess the accusation is on what these investigators found. The lack of leadership, the lack of moral compass, the lack of adulthood and maturity. There is an across the board systemic failure from adults. To me, that seems to be far more concerning than the fact that a group of minors did something very unfortunate and criminal, but that seems to be the far greater issue here.
Yeah, I agree. It 100% is. What was happening in that school where this was allowed to happen? And again, I've heard the same thing you did, which is they knew about this student was apparently showing everyone he had this adult sex toy, and it was well known about. So that should have been confiscated as soon as they found that out. So why wasn't it? we need a whole investigation into that too. It's just sad. I mean, I just can't. I love the idea behind a public school system, and you're providing everyone with a free and appropriate education regardless of income. But there's other ways to
Yes.
do that, like school vouchers. They do the exact same thing, except you could send your kids to a religious school, a school that's focused on the arts, whatever you want, right? Which would give a greater sense of community and ownership, where you'd have fewer of these problems. It's not going to be perfect. No school's perfect, but hopefully we could avoid such egregious things as this. These high schools now are like the sizes of small cities, right? They're just too big to manage, and so we really need to consider that too. That the size of the schools are growing to the point where it's very difficult to manage.
And even more troubling is, Tom, is they're merging high schools and middle schools together. Frederick
Yes, they are.
County's plan for Middletown High School is a merged environment. You're going to have
Yep.
17 and 18-year-old kids running around with 12 and 13-year-old young people. I
Yeah.
mean, that's a model, in my opinion, for disaster. The parents of Middletown are outraged, and
Yes.
they're being told, "You got an old school, you want a new school. This is what you get. Take it or take
Your
it or
only
leave it."
option. Yeah, I know. They really are going to have to lock that school down, because yeah, you can just imagine your 17-year-old like wanting to date a 12-year-old or something, and just getting them into drugs earlier, etc. I mean, there's a whole set of risks there with
And
having
there's a
these
whole
younger kids there.
social aspect to school. You're
Yes,
going to have
yes,
17-year-olds hanging out with 11, 12, 13-year-old kids. It's
yeah,
ridiculous.
yeah. Doesn't make
Lunchtime,
it.
gym time, before and after school hangout times. It is absolutely ludicrous. Yet this is what the Frederick County Public School System believes is a solution to an old infrastructure in Middletown.
Yeah, I don't understand why we're not planning ahead, right? Better to plan where our schools are going to be. We know which areas of the county are growing. I don't know why we can't be acquiring land ahead of time and figure this out. And we know the ages of our building, right? I mean, I understand that it's very difficult working with the state to get your capital improvement money. I know that's a very Byzantine, difficult process. But I think we ought to look at other options, such as partnering with a private industry that will do like a rent-to-own deal, where we can pay for it out of our per pupil allocation, out of our operating budget. That's what charter schools do, right? So in addition to getting less money, we pay $2,000 per kid in rent on average, all across the state of Maryland. Well, you could do that in Frederick County too, right? There's other ways you could finance it. You could go with, like, there's a group called First Try On that specifically focuses on financing these types of special projects. So why are we not engaging groups like that to find a way to actually do like a rent to own deal over 30, 40 years, where we're paying so much per year per kid, and we're actually able to get the buildings and go around the capital improvement plan that is such a difficult thing in the state of Maryland.
Again, bureaucratic oversight and red tape from Annapolis,
Yeah.
slowing everything down as usual. Welcome to the super blue world.
Yeah, it is. It's gotten bluer. That's the thing. That it used to be more balanced, but it's gotten bluer and bluer. And I just hope that people realize. I mean, I don't say this to be political, but you've got to realize that the way the Democrats are pushing in education doesn't make any sense. It's all about union politics, adult ideals. The kids are not a thought, right? Or if they're a thought, they're not the highest priority by any means. Anybody with common sense would say, you know what, the system's not working. We're spending $20,000 a year here in Frederick County per kid, and over $1 billion a year. Like, where are the teachers question? Why are the teachers not questioning that? Why aren't the parents coming even more to the board meetings? And we're already coming more than we ever had. But I think we need to have parents come more and more to really put the pressure on the board. The only thing that you guys know this, the only thing the Board of Education care about is public pressure, right? So unless there's constant public pressure, they're not willing to change, because they don't have any competition. They have no need to compete with other private schools, because they don't have to yet. So as soon as we get that, I think we'll see a game changer.
Well, I think we are starting to see the pendulum turn. I know that in the recent elections, many conservative, not many, but a couple at least, conservative members were voted to the school board for Frederick County. Washington County has flipped to completely conservative. Carroll County, conservative. By the way,
Yep.
you don't hear a peep out of Carroll County, do you?
Yeah,
Not
no.
a single
there
peep.
for some reason.
You don't
Everyone's
see-
happy there.
Everybody's
Well,
happy. Everything's good. I wonder what is it about Carroll
Yeah.
County that they got going on that makes it such an idyllic place for kids and adults alike.
Not
Yeah.
to mention with Carroll County,
They vote red
They
all
vote
the
red.
time.
Yeah, that's it.
Carroll
Yeah,
County
yeah.
also happens to rank in the number 1, 2, and sometimes they even may drop down to the 3rd highest academic performing school system in our state.
For the lowest cost per student
Yeah.
in the state
Yeah.
for a high academic performing county.
Yeah.
They got it
It's
both.
insane.
Low taxes, low property taxes, great results because they teach in a traditional manner, Tom, that you in this charter school have obviously found, and thank God you exist so that at least some of our kids can go there.
Right.
By the way, I wish I had gone to your school because you said it was 90% algebra pass rate.
Yep.
I was in the 10%. Back
May not have been able to help you, Mark.
I realized right away that I needed I will say this: algebra and failing it many times convinced me that I needed to go in the military and become a dog handler. Dogs don't care about algebra. Police dogs do not care about algebra at all. That's good.
That's funny.
Yeah.
But no, it's the opportunities, right? I mean, we focus on the critical school system and they deserve it. But just if folks could just imagine what could be for a minute, and just imagine you did have the 90% passage rate across the board, right? And same for math, same for reading and science. I mean, these kids would be in such a better shape for careers, and most importantly for me, to be a good citizen, right? We don't emphasize the fact that the whole point of the public school was to encourage statesmanship, right? Encourage, preserving the republic and improving the republic. It's a call to something noble and good and uniting, which is making the country as great as it can be. And I think we've lost that. It's a lot about me these days, and not about the greater good.
Schools have switched from citizenship to professional cynics. I really have great teachers that are friends, and we would be remiss to not state that most of the teachers are passionate about teaching their kids. They're just handcuffed right now by administrations and school boards that are missing the point.
And that's one of the greatest points in all of this, is that the teachers themselves, phenomenal people who want the children to succeed. They want to have a 100% passing rate for algebra and every subject. But then there's their union, and their union on election day literally says, because I've heard them say it, we are the representatives of the teachers, and here are the candidates that the teachers want. Actually, that's not true at all. That's what the political entity of the teachers union leadership in Annapolis wants to be elected. And the policies that they're putting in place, I have seen dozens upon dozens of teachers come to school boards, literally with tears in their eyes, begging the school boards to remove these policies. And those are the policies from their own union. And that distinction, I think, is so important for the average person, for us as voters to understand.
Yeah, I mean, it's not even safe anymore in the classrooms. These teachers are scared to death. They've got problem children that are assaulting them, assaulting other teachers, and like what I said earlier, they're getting a snack bag instead of a detention. Right. They're getting a pat on the back instead of suspensions.
Yeah,
and these teachers
100%.
have to deal with these classrooms that are out of control. You've seen the viral videos; they're all over the internet of kids losing it in classrooms, and teachers are completely handcuffed. They can do nothing.
Yeah, absolutely. And again, a lot of that comes down to the teachers union. We have this special interest that has this disproportionate influence in the local election. And a lot of the teachers don't even realize that, they're there, what they do. They just signed up when they first started to be, a union member. Mm-hmm. Somebody told them they needed to do it, and they just did it. A lot of them aren't really union people. They just don't. They never thought to reconsider their dues, right? So hopefully we can have some teachers realize that the union's a lot of the problem, and to stop giving them their money so that we can get back to normalcy. And, maybe the union would, wake up a little if they got hurt in the pocketbook. I'd love to see them, really have to fight for their members. I mean, think about it. Is it worth here in Frederick, it's $738 a year per person to be in the union? That's a lot of money. I mean, are you really getting that much? In the course of a career, you're going to pay like $14,000 to these people. Are you really getting that much benefits? I don't think so.
No, I think teachers are waking up. I really do.
Yeah.
I believe the pendulum is definitely swinging back towards common sense,
Yeah.
education, common sense, and these unions are just wacky. I mean, they just
Yeah.
they're not supporting anybody but themselves. And as you pointed out, they have enormous salaries. How does
Yes.
the head of the teachers union get $500,000 per year? And that's just on the average.
It's
Yeah.
actually what we're talking about right here is that one of the perhaps the biggest effect from the teachers union perspective of all of this is that these inefficiencies, these failures in the public school system, they create an excuse for the teachers union to say, wait a second, we need to increase the budget, such as the way the blueprint for Maryland's future does, because how else the kids are suffering, how else are we going to help the kids? And what those budgets really do is they increase the size of the public school personnel, which increases the number of union members and paying union members. The head of the National Teachers Union the previous generations would never have had the ability to come anywhere remotely close to a $500,000 a year salary,
Yep.
because the public schools were lean and mean and effective, and as a result, they had far lower paying number of union dues members.
And
Yep.
even worse than that, they're not hiring teachers; they're hiring administrators.
Yeah.
They're not even
Less
hiring
than
kids.
half the teachers, less than half the staff here in Frederick County are teachers. So 49% teachers, 51% everything else. If you go back to the 1950s, it was 2-to-1 teachers. So for every, 2 teachers, there would be 1 support person, whether it's a bus driver, administrator, or whatever. So it's shifted dramatically. And have we gotten better? No, we've gotten worse. And a lot of the teachers don't realize the union's selling them out in terms of salaries. So think about it. We have this blueprint, which is going to add 15 to 20,000 new teachers across Maryland. So that means you're dividing the money we have available that could go to raise our current teachers' salaries by 15 or 20,000 more people. So you're actually lowering teacher salaries, and that's all the union pushing for that stuff. So at some point that disconnect teachers have to realize that disconnect, that the union is actually hurting their salaries, not improving them, because they keep insisting on hiring more people. If we had just kept things the same in Frederick County, so this is analysis I did, just kept the ratio of people we hired to the enrollment, because our enrollment is growing. So we just kept that the same, but didn't, overhire. Every teacher in Frederick County today, every person actually in every position could have $16,500 more dollars in their salary. Isn't that crazy? Over the last 4 years, that's what it comes to.
And that amount is far greater than what the teachers union is officially trying to get salaries raised by. And that's another almost like tactic seems like I've noticed the teachers union using, is that what they do is they push through all of this additional spending on all of this additional personnel. But what they leave out is they actually deprioritize lower on the list teacher salaries, the size of classrooms, so that once all of this other spending that increases the number of personnel has been pushed through, then they have that one last string to play where they're like, but our teachers are underpaid, but look at the size of the classrooms.
Right.
Now, granted, we've already had Maryland's credit rating downgraded because of the sheer size of the public school spending, meaning it's already been unsustainable. And the teachers union is saying, but because the public understands classroom sizes and the public understands, sure, of course we want to pay our teachers well. That's the last string they wait just to see if they can eke out a few more dollars. It seems like a well-played strategy at this point. And it's highly calculated. It's also been done long-term and is very transparent and predictable at this point.
Still been successful though. It has been successful. They create their own crisis and then they sell the cure for it.
Right. And my message is, look, we love our teachers. That's why we want to stop the union from wasting their dues on politics, and instead fight for policies that let our pay our best teachers what they're actually worth. But the union's the one against that, not us. I think a great public school is one that is accountable to parents and actually uses a curriculum that's proven to work. But fighting for that isn't like attacking public schools. It's the only way to save public schools. We've seen it with Frederick Classical and many other examples. So unfortunately, they want you to think that everything we say is an attack on teachers. But what our attack is, if anything, it's an attack on a bloated bureaucracy that takes money out of the classroom and hurts the performance of our great teachers. And I think if we can really, go and spread that message to anyone that'll listen, I think the teachers would hear us on that. And I think they'd be less interested in, joining with a union that's actually decreasing their salaries.
That's a great point, Tom. I think that's a great way to end the interview. That's going to sum us up. We're actually way past the time we really did. But, Tom, we want to thank you for coming out. It was a great conversation. Covered a variety and a range of topics. Ethan, anything you'd like to sum up?
No, I just thank you for coming on. The information was fantastic, and I hope that you'll come on and join us again, because one thing we do love is facts and to be educated, and that's what you did here today.
Like I said, Ethan's a fact nerd, so you brought a whole lot of facts for him. He's written all this stuff down. By the way, that clicking you heard was him on his pen. Give me that pen. Give me
He's taking notes.
He's been clicking the whole thing. He's writing down information. By the way, Tom, he's going to take all this information and go to the next board meeting.
And
Just use it. He's going to use all your information. And he's going to go, I got some stuff now. I'm going to talk some more Board of Education meetings. So, and more power to him. Ethan does a great job.
I can't wait to hear it.
Holding people accountable at these Board of Education meetings. I love it. I think they should just videotape that. We should make a podcast just on Ethan at the Board of Education meetings, lambasting them. I'm exaggerating, but he does a really, really good job. All right. Well, thanks for being with us. I've been your host, Mark Flynn. With me is my co-host,
Ethan Lowen.
And Tom Neumark is here as well. Thank you so much for being with us. We'll catch you next time on Mid-Maryland Votes. Thank you for joining us. If you like the podcast, like, share, and follow. And if you share it with somebody, share it with a teacher. They need to hear this information the most. Thank you for
that. Wraps up part 2 of Mid-Maryland Votes, episode 31. Our thanks to Tom Neumark, the leader of Maryland's top-ranked charter school, for speaking hard truths about violence, sexual assaults, and chaos plaguing too many of our Maryland classrooms. These aren't just headlines, folks. They're the results of policies and priorities that can be changed. Like, follow, and share for more content like this, and keep the conversation going, because our children's safety and education are on the line.